The first investment appraisal method which we are going to study is the payback period, which is simply the length of time between making an investment and the time at which it breaks even. In other words, it's a length of time, number of years and months it takes to fully recover the original investment from the project's net cash inflows. In order to calculate the payback period, we simply need to divide the cost of the investment by the annual cash flow. And here we have two possible scenarios. First of all, we might deal with a situation when cash flows are even or equal. In other words, every year the project generates the same amount of money. This could be the case with the rental property. We invest a certain sum and we expect to receive the same equal rents for a number of years. Alternatively, which is probably most frequent case, we can deal with a situation when cash inflows are unequal or uneven. And we will have to deal with these cases in a slightly different manner. Case 1, when cash flows are equal or even. The formula is very simple. Simply divide the actual initial investment, sum of the capital invested, by the annual cash inflows. Here, for the cash inflow, we are using the annual earnings, in other words, profit after tax but before depreciation. Please pay attention to this because we will need to do calculations based on these formulas. A very simple example, a project which requires £50,000 investment and will yield an annual inflow of £10,000. It implies that the payback period is 5 years. After the 5 years, your cash inflows every year will recover your original investment. Second case, a little bit more complicated, when cash inflows are not even, when you receive different amounts every year. Here, in order to calculate the payback, you need to add up the number of years immediately preceding the year of payback, plus divide the remaining balance, which is still to be recovered, by cash inflow during the year of recovery. Let me give you an example to illustrate this. Let's imagine that we have a project which requires an initial outlay of £12,000 and will generate the following cash inflows: £2,000, £4,000, £4,000 and £5,000 in the next 4 years. Let's present this information in the form of a table. These are our annual cash flows, and we need to add another column where we will calculate the cumulated cash flow. In other words, how much total cash flows we will reach by the certain time period. For example, in the first year we have only generated £2,000. By the end of the second year we have reached £6,000 of total cash flow. So this is a sum of all previous cash flows. At the end of year 3, we have managed to generate 10,000. So this is the total amount generated in 3 preceding years, and so on. So we've calculated cumulated cash flows. And this column helps to illustrate that we are not recovering our initial investment of £12,000 until year 4. In other words, in the first 3 years, we have only generated £10,000. So we've spent 3 years and we have not received our money back yet. These 3 years is the number of years immediately preceding the year of payback. At the end of year 3, there are still £2,000 left to recover. So the difference between what we've invested and the total cumulated cash flow which we've reached. In other words, this is the balance which is still yet to be recovered in the next year. We are going to recover this amount in year 4. And the actual annual cash flow which we plan to receive in this year is £5,000. This is the last number in our formula, cash inflow during the year of recovery. In other words, we will not spend the whole year 4 recovering this amount. We will generate more than 2,000 required. That is why we will only spend part of this year in order to recover the remaining £2,000. We plug in all of these numbers into our formula, so 3 years immediately preceding the year of payback, plus £2,000 which is still left to recover, divided by £5,000 which we managed to earn or generate during the next year. So as a result, the total payback period is 3.4 years. Or we can convert these decimals into a number of months if we want to express the payback period in years and months. This is how we calculate the payback period in a situation when cash flows are uneven. What are the decision-making rules for payback period for this metric? Generally, the company should accept an investment project if its payback is less than certain predetermined target value. And similarly, you would reject an investment project with a payback period greater than your certain desired time period. Again, to give you a simple example, I personally plan to install solar panels in my own home. I knew that I'm going to generate certain amount of income from selling my generated electricity, which I'm not using myself, back to the grid. I've calculated the expected power of my system installed, took into account the actual installation costs, and I worked out that the payback period is going to be something like 15 years. In other words, taking into account all of the savings which I will get from generating my own electricity and from selling it back to the grid, I will not get my money back for 15 years. I will tie in this capital. I decided that it's too long and I rejected this project. I didn't invest money into solar panels. I don't have solar panels in my home. Instead, I've invested this money into some other home improvements which generated bigger returns and quicker. Generally, the shorter the payback period, the better it is. And if you have alternative investment projects, the project with the same amount of return, but the shorter payback period should be preferred. It's more desirable because it takes less time for an investor to receive back their capital. So if the projects are mutually exclusive, select the project with the shorter payback. However, what you also need to know is that the project should not be evaluated by its payback alone. This specific metric has plenty of disadvantages, and it only gives you some of the information which you need in order to make a sound investment decisions. It's a simple method which is frequently used only as a preliminary screener. If a project has a shorter payback period than predetermined benchmark, then you can proceed with more sophisticated analytical techniques. If not, reject it straight away and don't waste time onto further analysis. So let's summarize main pros and cons of this specific analytical method. It's very simple, it's very easy to calculate and easy to understand even by non-specialists. It does take into account some of the risk because it concentrates on earlier, less risky cash flows. Apparently, if you focus on projects which generate returns early on, it's less risky because it's easier to forecast for a shorter period of time. If your project will generate cash flows, let's say in 10 or 15 years, how reliable your forecasts are? Are you certain that your forecasts are actually accurate? Because so many things can happen during these 10 or 15 years. So generally, shorter term forecasts are likely to be more reliable, and that is why the analytical technique, which allows you to focus on projects with earlier cash flows, is likely to be less risky. What is also good about this method is that it takes cash flows and not accounting profits into account. As we've learned in our lecture on agency problem, accounting profits can be manipulated, and that is why sometimes it's not wise to use accounting profits as the main decision-making criteria. Apart from this, it helps to focus on investments which enhance liquidity. Capital is tied in for a shorter period of time, which helps you to ensure that you don't run out of cash. You don't tie in your capital for too long. However, there are significant disadvantages of this method. First of all, it ignores cash flows beyond the payback period. You only focus on the time which is required for your project to break even. You totally ignore what happens after this cutoff point. It ignores the time value of money. In other words, it doesn't take into account the fact that cash flows generated in different periods will have different value in today's terms. However, you can address this issue by modifying the payback method and calculating the discounted payback. This is what we'll do in the next slide. Apart from this method cannot help you to distinguish between projects with the same payback period. Let's imagine that you have 5 alternative investment projects and 2 of them have a payback period of 2 years, which is the shortest out of all possible options. How do you select between these 2 projects? It doesn't tell you. Moreover, the choice of any cutoff payback period by any organization is arbitrary. You don't really know what payback period should be selected. 3 years, is it acceptable? 5 years, 10 years, 1 year? You don't know. And this decision will be made in arbitrary manner. There are no theoretical rules on how these cutoff points should be selected. And apart from this, the use of payback periods in investment appraisal may lead to excessive investment into shorter-term projects, which can generate short-term revenue or return at the cost of longer-term returns. So we are kind of ignoring long-term future of the company by focusing too much on this decision-making technique. Nevertheless, payback remains a very widely used project appraisal method in modern organizations in spite of all of these drawbacks. It definitely shouldn't be used in isolation, but it can be helpful as a secondary method to provide some additional information for decision making and to complement other, more sophisticated analytical techniques. It helps to save time and sifts out the projects which require tying in capital resources for too long, which might expose the company to unacceptable levels of risk. It can help to focus on projects which promise returns sooner rather than later. However, this matrix still remains inferior compared to discounted cash flow approaches. Let's have a look at the discounted payback period technique, which allows us to address some of these limitations. Discounted payback period method is a modification of payback by discounting the cash flows using the company's cost of capital as the discount rate. In other words, the future cash flows are discounted prior to calculating the payback period. With this method, the discounted cash flows are added together to calculate the payback period, which allows to take into account the time value of money, the timing of different cash flows. Let me give you an example. Let's imagine that we are dealing with a project which will last for 5 years. It requires an initial investment of £100,000 and it will generate certain cash inflows. If we calculate the cumulative cash flows using a traditional method, we will calculate the payback, which is equal to 2.67 years, so about 2 years and 8 months. If, however, we apply the cost of capital as the discount rate, let's take, say, 10%, we can work out the relevant present value factor for each year and calculate present value of these cash flows, taking into account the time value of money. Then we can calculate the cumulative net present value of these cash flows and calculate the modified, the discounted payback period, which happens to be just over 3 years. So this modification is an improvement on the simple payback method because it takes into account the time value of money, so it provides more accurate information. However, it still doesn't consider cash flows after the payback point, so after we've recovered our initial investment, which is on itself is also still chosen in an arbitrary way. We will need to use some other techniques to address these issues.